Hello everyone, I'm Denise Love. Here's a little preview of what we're going to be doing today. So let's get started. I thought today we could do a color cube challenge. I'm really obsessed with this card, 339, and I don't know if I've already done a color cube challenge with this card or not, but I did a short recently and everybody was like, what are the colors? And I was like, I don't know, you know, these little shorts I paint in less than 5 minutes. I do several at the same time and then I edit them, and then maybe they'll come out 2 weeks from now, so I don't really even remember what I used. So I thought I'd do a color cube challenge and try to recreate the colors and just hope that I got the same colors I got before. And they look the same, so I hope they're the same. And so this is color cube card 339 out of box 2 of the Color Cube volume 2 by Sarah Renee Clark. And this is a color palette that I would definitely use over and over. I just ended up loving that so much, so I thought we would play in that today. And so I'm using the Kuretake watercolors, and I've actually pulled 3 colors out of the 48 pan set and 2 colors out of the Art Nouveau set. And I didn't even remember pulling these 2 colors out of this other set, but like I said, I did these so fast and I was doing so many at a time that I just didn't recollect where any of these even came from. So I got as close as I could using these watercolors. So I have 503 cobalt green, 601 grayish blue, 33 cadmium orange, 72 maroon, and number 20 black. So that's the colors that we'll be using. And then I'm also going to be using anything else as we're going that I want to create with. So just wanted to get our little colors situated, and then I'll be referencing and pulling our colors from our little color card all throughout my little painting here. So I'm just going to take my water bottle and activate our colors, and I'm gonna do maybe some larger abstracts. I might do one that's kind of blobs, or maybe I'll do both of them big. You know what, I think maybe big. And I'm gonna get my Princeton Neptune quill number 4 since I'm going a little bit bigger. And you might just start with whatever color is your favorite, or whichever color you like the most. And I might just start these differently just to be like, hey, look at that, it's different. And you know what I'm going to do before I even do that? I'm going to take one of my the Pitt, is that the one I want? I want the matte graphite one. Yes, here we go, 14B Pitt graphite matte. And I'm gonna start, and I do this because it kind of helps you get rid of the blank page, and it gets you started on your way to mark making. And you can just play and experiment and just see, like, how are these going to show through our watercolors, because they will. And I might even do acrylic paint on top of that, who knows. It's just all about experimenting today. And I might even do like some acymic writing. And somebody asked me, how do you learn how to do the acymic writing? And acymic writing is basically scribble that says nothing, but you don't know that it says nothing. You're kind of looking at it and you're like, does that say something? I might be able to, you know, search out a word there, but I can't really tell. So you could Google acymic writing and kind of see examples. It's been used in art for hundreds of years. It's kind of just is interesting scribble. And I already have sometimes messy handwriting, so the scribble just kind of comes naturally to me. But if you have a mind that doesn't work that way, you could pick a phrase or something that looks interesting, like a quote that you like, and just practice super messy handwriting and see if you can just get it to, you don't really want to be able to read it. You just want it to be something that's there, and you want to be able to be like, huh, I wonder what that says. And then in your mind, it can be anything that you want it to be. I've now kind of opened up the meaning of that artwork for however you want to kind of interpret it. And what I like about doing the writing below the watercolor is it kind of comes through. You still see it. We did not cover it completely, and I love that. All right, so maybe we'll start this one with the green. What if we do them complete opposite and do this one maybe a little more muted and this one insanely bright? Let's start this one with the orange. I love this orange. And so I like painting more than one at a time, and I generally start in the corners personally and kind of work my way in. It's kind of a natural progression of where to put stuff after that, because then you're like, oh, well then I could kind of come in here with some blue, maybe add the blue, and we kind of work our way around the piece without plopping something right down in the center of our art. So just kind of my own thoughts there. And apparently I've liked this blue enough that we're getting down on our blue in our little paint pan. And you can get these individually. I think St. Louis Art Supply carries these colors individually. So once you make your way through some of these Kuretake sets and there's one or two colors that you're like, oh, that was obviously my favorite, you can replace just individual pans, I've seen. So just Google that on the internet. All right, so there we go. All right, so I'm kind of wanting to add the orange and kind of touch these in, and because I used dominant colors in different areas, I think the look that we'll get overall is similar because we've used similar colors, but different because we've used them in different quantities, and I think that's pretty cool. All right, so I've got the orange. Let's put the maroon in here. And you don't have to cover every inch of the paper. Just get creative with what you're creating. If you've got white spots, that's fine. You can go back in and fill that in, or you can let that be part of the art. Don't let anybody tell you there's a right or wrong way to do your art. Get creative. And we may put layers on top of this, so I don't feel like I need to cover every little section, because I might come and cover that with something as we're going. And then if the paint's still wet, we'll get some interesting kind of combos with the paint mixing, which I love. And I like to start painting. Pick the color palette. Don't have any specific destination in mind, and I end up with the best paintings and the best painting day that way. I like to paint more intuitively. I like to just see like, hey, where am I going to end up? Doesn't have to be anywhere specific. I'm okay just riding the wave of creativity and being like, oh, check out what we ended up creating today, and I get so excited because I wasn't even like expecting whatever that was that we ended up creating. All right, super fun. I don't want to mix too many colors on top of each other and make them muddy. That kind of did add some mud in there, mixing the blue and the green there. And then we also have some black here, which I have not added in at all. And I could use black ink. I don't have to use black watercolor, but we could just kind of come in here and kind of work that color in and just see like what can we get. And at this point, I'm not even worried about messing something up. I love it. I do think we were going in good directions here, but I don't have to worry about ruining it because I didn't have anything specific in my mind anyway. So wherever I end up with, I'm okay with that. All right, so there we go. So I wanted that to kind of add some movement in there. So I want to actually let this dry, and then maybe we'll paint more stuff on top of this. I could also come back now with my pencil and I could add more marks. I could come back with, say, the end of my paintbrush and just see what kind of marks I can drag through the wet paint while it's still wet. That's kind of fun. Just what can you get it to do as you're dragging? I really like that blue section over here. Maybe come around some circles. Rawr. Ooh, I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry. All right, this is dried, and I'm kind of thinking we could do mark making, or we could do some stencil work. I'm kind of wanting the stencils to be in orange, an orange color. This is the golden So Flat paint. Ooh, that's orange though. And this was, you know, cadmium orange in that watercolor, but that is way different. Cadmium orange in different brands, or definitely different colors. I've got some yellow oxide. Ooh. I could mix a little yellow oxide with maybe a little orange and see if I can get closer to this kind of burnt orange color that's in here. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Let me just get some more of this orange out here. Might need it to shake this So Flat paint up. That's okay. Oh yeah, I could have shaken it up. That's alright. Let's just mix and see what we get. So I'm trying to get closer to this yummy burnt color. And it's a little less bright than the pure cadmium out of that So Flat tube. Oh yeah, now I'm loving that. There we go. That's exactly what we needed, but it's very liquidy, which I wasn't really wanting to get that liquidy. That's okay. Now we are closer. Look at that. Ho, ho, ho. All right, so even though I don't mix a lot of colors for you guys on YouTube, you can kind of look and make a feel like what can we mix to kind of get closer to what we want. And what if we kind of come in here at an angle and just go for it. And I'm just using an artist sponge that I've cut up, the little round ones. Alright, so it's very liquidy. Still like that implication in there. You could dab, you can rub, you can play. I do generally like thicker paints when I'm doing stencils, because I like the way it keeps a crisp, clear shape, but I don't mind them running either, because I'm just trying to get some implied shape and stuff going in there. So perfect stencil work is not always my goal. Sometimes my goal is to just lay color in there. I actually do like the orange as the color that we've picked there, so yay for that one. Alright, so now I'm kind of thinking, what do we want to do here? We could do mark making. I've got a yummy burgundy posca pen, which, let me move this paint out of the way before I stick my hand right down in it. And in my little sampler that I liked so much, I did yummy posca dots in some of the colors. This is a red wine color, but I did like the detail that I got by adding some colored paint dots. So let's just do some of that in there. Do some of the favorite things. Once you're like, ooh, I love that, do more of that. Kind of gets us to our little style and stuff that we're doing. And if you do like I just did and make a big paint splatter, take your palette knife and move that paint splatter around so that it becomes part of the painting and isn't a big deal. That's what I do with gold too. If I have and if I do that once, now I'm thinking, okay, so let's go ahead and do it again. So splatter some paint out, get your palette knife and move some of that around and let that be part of your painting. Let me get a clean sheet of paper over here so that I can have it to dab if I need it. So when you need to prime this tip on these fatter ones, don't prime it on the paper unless you want a paint glob that you can spread around. So I do that on purpose sometimes. I'm not saying I did it on purpose today, because that would be a lie. But when I do it, I know how to correct it. And that happened on my yummy little short too. When I was doing the gold, I had like a gold glob that wasn't the same size as the little gold dots I was making. And rather than get upset because there was a big glob, I spread that glob in like it was part of the painting. So don't be scared to, man, I'm already liking these. I'm trying to let this acrylic paint dry too, so I can come mark on top of those. And we could use some of our paints as mark making, so I could come back in now and I could start doing some fun marks. We could do some globs of circles that we could draw around. That's kind of fun. Okay, I don't like that shape brush. Let's get a different shape of brush. That's a filbert. I didn't like it. All right, what do I want instead? Let's pull our paintbrushes down and pick a different brush. Maybe we can try one of these little round ones. This is a Princeton Neptune round brush, but I just want to have something a little bit easier to make around something out of. Doesn't have to be perfect. I come back in and draw around these with some pastel. But now I just want to mark make and add some fun elements with paint. I like that color a lot. And I'm just grabbing some different paintbrushes to make some of these marks, just to see which paintbrush am I going to end up liking. So that was a Princeton Neptune number 6 round. This one is a Princeton Select number 6 round blender. So this is like a scrubber brush that's good for scrubbing stuff. But which brush will give you, kind of a mark that you're like, ooh, I like that a lot. And you're not really going to know until you practice with the different brushes that you have. There's no perfect right brush. Just experiment and be like, oh, this is the one that I like, the one that does what I was hoping. All right, so I'm liking these, and I could try and see. Oh, see, now that perfect brush for making big blobs. All right, so that's the perfect brush. See, that's how we discover these things. Now every time I need to paint like a big round blob, this is the brush I will reach for. That's how we discover these things. I like the big blobs. And I've kind of got I got my paint stick over here. This is how I keep my hand off my painting as I'm experimenting and kind of trying some new stuff. If I don't want to put my hand on this piece over here, and I've just got it lifted off the paper, I'm just holding it with my other hand. So I like this brush less for little marks like this, but I loved it for the great big splotchy circles. All right, see, now we got some good stuff going. And I'm kind of thinking, I've got some other yummy Posca pens over here, and we could pull some of these out and just see how we can add to what we've already got going. So I could add some details into our flowers. Just as something fun there. That really made them stand out. I don't know if I love it, but I kind of like it, so maybe we can just do a little more decorating on them, and then maybe we will love it. And I'm going to do that over here so that it looked like it was on purpose. This is a little bit brighter color than I was even thinking it would be. When you're all done, you might be like, holy cow, that was my favorite bit and I didn't even know it, and I thought, yuck, when I started it. You don't know how many times I've done that. Especially if your stencil work is all over the place a little bit, like my stencil work just happened to be. This can give you some definition back into some of these elements. And if you like to do botanical work, you can draw some botanicals on your piece. That's always fun. let's see what else we got in here. Trying to keep in mind my colors. I'm trying to stay within the color palette. Ooh, you know what I got? Okay, so then I wanted to move over to some pastels. So these are the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 1 pastels. You could do the 1s or you could do the Neocolor 2s. I am obsessed. So that orange was apricot. So it's apricot that I used and red wine. And I could come back and do some white, but I could come back now and pick a color out of here that kind of blends with our color palette. Like I really kind of like one of these light, that blue is kind of a different color blue. My goal on these is to get close. It's not to get exact. I'm trying to just work within a color palette. Say, you know, a greenish color, a blue, an orange, a burgundy, and a black. I'm trying to just work within that color palette. Does not matter to me if I'm off a shade here and there. The goal is just to kind of get close and just see, you know, what would it happen if I did this or if I did that. And some of these are not grabbing me. I want them to grab me. Oh. Let's see. So I could come back with some orange. Let's just see what these oranges are. Okay, I do like this orange actually. And I'm kind of just defining some of my stencil there. Just to test the color without it being so dramatic. It's out here with some other stuff. I kind of want to go around these circles with this orange. I'm just gonna do it. I did kind of like them just as the blue though. But don't be afraid to take a color and go around it with another color, and that's another element that's super fun in your piece. Like, look at that. That's actually really fun. Okay, now I actually really like that, and I kind of want some of that over here. I wish I had done a line of those over here. And again, just kind of filling in some of my stencil here. Okay. Man, there's some good stuff going on in this. Kind of want a burgundy. This one's kind of burgundy. Okay, so let's see. Maybe, what do we want here? Maybe we want some lines. Something kind of going through our piece. Oh, yeah, that's what I want. Whoa. I like scribble. It adds some movement, kind of drives your eye around the piece in different directions. So I actually like that so much that I'm feeling like a little bit of scribble over here too. So pretty. And maybe I'll bring that back up here a little bit. A little bit over here. Just kind of playing, adding some color details in different places. Okay, super fun. We could come back now with white or gold. We could add some finishing lines and marks. What do we want? What do we want? All right, so got some white. Do I want some white in here just to finish off anything? Let's see. Why not? And I always consider this kind of like you're pulling back in some of your paper bit. We're working on white paper, and I'm okay with that. And of course, the thing I always do is work backwards. I should work over here and then go over here. Why do we do this to ourselves? Oh my gosh. So that's why you need the paint stick or random stick. They make a fancy drawing stick that you can do this with. But the paint stick was practically free. And the fancy drawing stick is a drawing tool. So it's priced like a drawing tool and it's expensive. So sometimes just visit the paint and hardware store and see what they've got that you're like, oh, this will work in my art stuff. Oh yeah, see, I like the little bit of white. It kind of gives a little tiny bit of whimsy in there. I gotta tell you, one of my favorite bits is this right here with the circles and the little color around the circle. That's some of my favorite. And I do have metallic stuff. I have some silver metallic stuff. It's not really in my color palette, but I could add some of that in there. That's in a fine line bottle. I've got the silver and the gold now in my fine liners so that when I don't want to use a dip pen, I can just add some gold touches. But I don't think I'm going to do that today. I think I'm going to resist and just let it be the abstract pieces that it is. So let's peel the tape and see what we got, and then we can evaluate, did we like it? And if I didn't love the whole piece, I'll always reserve the right to cut out into smaller pieces the sections that I loved, but my goal is to hopefully like the entire piece. And I'm using the Hahnemühle 100% cotton paper, so this tape is just peeling right off. Super nice. Not even catching on it. Look at that. Ooh, these are pretty. Oh, totally outside my normal color palette. Like I said, this is a color palette that I would continue to visit over and over. Check it out. These are so delightful, and that was off of our color palette $3.39. So I hope you enjoyed painting with me today. I can't wait to see what you're creating, so feel free to tag me on Instagram at Two Little Owls Art, or you can join the Facebook group. I link those below the video for you, along with all of the art supplies that I use in class, and I'll see you next time.